Well, folks, I just want to touch base with you real quick. This is a wonderful day out in the park in beautiful Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I just wanted to talk to you about what happens when there's a permanent kinship guardianship in your case and what you can do to terminate that kinship guardianship. My name is Attorney Anthony Spratley. I am the owner and founder of Genus Law Group here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we practice law and we do it with integrity. Now, there are many reasons why a court will grant a permanent guardianship to a family member. Usually the first step is someone files a petition with the court to establish a temporary kinship guardianship because of some emergency. Usually it has to deal with two parents, but it could be one that is unable to take care of a minor child or children. Okay, I'm gonna say child and children kind of interchangeably throughout this video. And because an emergency exists that someone needs to take care of this child, to do things like get power of attorney, right, to take them to the hospital and enroll them in schools and take care of their day-to-day needs, there needs to be an appointment by the court, an order by the court appointing them to be guardians of the children, so they can essentially step into the role as a parent. And so the first step usually is for an interested party to file a petition with the court for kinship guardianship. And usually the court, if there's a bona fide emergency, will grant that temporary kinship guardianship with some stipulations. And usually once that order is entered, that temporary guardianship will stay in effect for about 180 days unless it's extended by the court. So usually within that 180-day time period, the court will have another hearing. Hopefully all the parties will be involved, including the parents of the biological children and also obviously the petitioners for the kinship guardianship case. The court will have a hearing to kind of figure out, okay, what are the next steps in the case? And sometimes you get to the end of the 180-day, whenever that hearing takes place within that time period, and the court says, nope, I'm not going to extend the order. The child's going to be returned back to the parents. Or the court says, no, we're going to make this kinship guardianship permanent. So if it's permanent, does it mean that that's the end of the case? And do you lose your rights as a parent? Absolutely not. That's not what it means. Essentially, the court, because by statute, is only required to grant a temporary guardianship for 180 days at a time, instead of the court having to go back every 6 months or so to extend or to order an additional 180 days. The court says, no, let's not waste court's time, judicial resources. If we're at a point after 180 days that it's clear that for the best interest of the child, that the kinship guardianship should be granted on a permanent basis, then the court says, hey, let's just do that and make it a permanent kinship guardianship. But the name permanent kinship guardianship, although it allows legally the court to say, okay, we don't have to keep coming back to court every 6 months to extend the order, but it also gives some finality in an issue that the kinship guardians themselves, they can continue to take care of this child without having to go back and forth to court, and have some consistency and predictability in their care of the child. But what does that mean for you? For example, if you're the respondent and someone was granted the permanent kinship guardianship, can you terminate the kinship guardianship? Yes, you can always request that the court terminate the kinship guardianship. And so what that means is, even though they call it a permanent kinship guardianship, right, it's permanent in the sense that until you file a motion with the court to terminate the kinship guardianship, and then the court will conduct an evaluation, and which usually involves a guardian ad litem to make a determination whether or not the kinship guardianship should be terminated. And in many cases they are, and in many cases they're not, right? So, but usually when a person petitions for a kinship guardianship termination, it's because they're ready to take over the duties as the parent, as it is their constitutional right to do so. And so they're asking the court to terminate it. And again, like I said, there's processes that take place in order to have the court determine whether or not the kinship guardianship should be terminated. Okay, so although it says permanent kinship guardianship, doesn't mean that it's permanent, because the statute is written that it can be terminated at any point when requested by a party, but the court ultimately decides whether or not it's in the best interest of the child to do so. Okay, so if you know anyone that would benefit from this video, please share it with them. If you're in a place that you can like or subscribe to this video, please do it as well. If you want more content like this, please go to our website at www.genuslawgrp.com. And you can also reach out to us if you have any questions about content like this at 505-317-4455. All right, folks, till next time, take care.